Pittsburgh Steelers fans, happy Labor Day. Wow. It is your hangover. I hope you're having a great weekend. And your hangover is only including just from good beverages and good food and lots of fun with your friends and family. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. I'm the podcast producer. Alongside with me is Shannon White, the pride of West Virginia. My friend Shannon, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Just looking forward to enjoying some ribs on Labor Day.
I know you're killing me. That sounds so good. I wish you would deliver. Tony Defeo is here once again. How was your Labor Day weekend, my friend?
It is good. It is good. I worked all weekend, but I'm taking today off, and I'm just gonna do my laundry. I already did that, and I'm gonna cut the grass. So yeah, it's
all right.
Crazy stuff.
Now Is it true that you've also been mixing in some phone calls to TJ Watt to make sure that he signs on the dotted line? Is that true that you've been you and TJ have been talking?
Yes. Well, I mean, I've been trying to get him to be my agent or his agent, trying to get because I want that 10% or whatever it is.
I would take 0.01% of that.
Yeah. I'll take a stipend from him.
You know what? I would hire Tony Defeo as my agent. In fact, if he's smart, he would put you in his entourage. You would be a great entourage.
My nickname is TJ, just like him. So, I mean, what else does he need?
Oh, I forgot. Tony Julius, Trent Jordan. There you go.
Yeah, come on.
First, and I'm glad to be with all you as well. No game this weekend, so I'm kind of in more of Steeler withdrawal because we've had games to talk about the last 4 hangovers and just hangover from everything going on. The TJ Watt contract talks. We had a trade over the weekend with Akello Witherspoon, which I'm gonna have. I got to get that name down. I love that. I actually like that pickup. That's a pretty good pickup for this team, and just all the fallout from the roster and cuts and any moves. So any thoughts from you fellas as we move forward? Shannon, what was your... I'm sorry, go ahead.
About Witherspoon or...
Well, any thoughts about the weekend, my friend, and the state of the Steelers going into week 1?
Yeah, I guess the Witherspoon being the big news since there's nothing happening on the TJ Watt spectrum there, but Witherspoon is kind of confusing for me because he is not physical at all. He's tall, he's fast, he's very talented. But, the Steelers asked their cornerbacks to be aggressive and play the run. And so I know there's been talk about him taking a lot of that when moving Sutton into the slot and him taking a lot of the outside. Taking some of the snaps away from Pierre, but Pierre is very aggressive and an excellent tackler. And I think Pierre's still a better fit. So I'm still interested to see what they're going to do with Witherspoon.
Well, it's anyone's guess. Looks like they're trying to shore up the outside. And hey, you know what I will always say? There's a lot of times we don't know the plan. Because we're not in that war room, we're not in that coach's room, but there's always those guys being 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. And I do apologize. I'm a little off today, so I apologize. We're just trying to get up to speed here with the weekend here. Tony, how do you feel about the whole week?
I thought as far as the roster moves, I wasn't surprised by much of anything. The Witherspoon pickup, I mean, that was just I look at it as a depth piece and somebody with starting experience, somebody who can start on the outside. As Shannon said, he's not a physical guy. He's not a great tackler, but he has good coverage skills. So, I look for them to if Sutton's not playing on the outside in whatever scheme they happen to be in, I look for Pierre to be the first guy they bring in. But it's nice to know that they have a guy like this who's been in the league for a few years and has a decent pedigree. So we'll see what happens. But we were saying it was going to take a village to replace Hilton and Nelson, and that's kind of what we're seeing. all these young guys that they're throwing in there. So when you move on from those two guys, it wasn't going to be an easy transition to replace them. And I think Witherspoon is just another attempt to help in that regard.
So here's one thing that I do want to mention here. And as we do that, Dave Schofield's coming in with some breaking news and on our Slack channel, and I'm going to bring that up. And that's something that we're already hearing in the live chat, because the live chat, man, you're way ahead of us with the team captains this year. We've got Big Ben, Cam Hayward, and Derek Watt is your special teams captain as well. So interesting. Also, other news today, a lot of people don't get excited about numbers like I do, and I know Tony does as well. Jameer Jones will wear 40 now instead of the 44 that he wore because of team captain on special teams Derek Watt. Buddy Johnson is moving from 51 to 45, so that means that Trey Turner keeps the 51. And then we've got Joe Schobert going to 93, which there were a lot of guesses on what Joe Schobert was going to take, and he's going with 93. That's a surprise to a lot of people. I do love talking about numbers. I know Michael Beck does too, and he's the one who put that in our Slack channel. Michael Beck and we do the preseason predictions as well, and so that's really interesting there. So there you go with those numbers. Any thoughts on that, fellas?
I'm just glad that we're over this whole duplicate number thing. I don't know that's the thing that really confused me this past summer is you had lifted restrictions in terms of certain positions and what numbers they could use. And yet you had all these duplicate numbers, like with 51, 44, was it, I think 82 or 83, there were a couple of 83, it was 50. Yeah, it was just crazy. So I'm glad to see that gone, but I am kind of shocked that Schobert went to 93. What was his number with Cleveland and Jacksonville? Was he in the 50s? I forget.
53 in Cleveland and 47 in Jacksonville.
Okay, yeah, that's a major transition for him. But we've seen a lot of great linebackers wear number 90s in the 90s for the Steelers over the years, so that's a good omen.
And Josh Parker is saying 93 is probably the year that Schobert was born in. Also, Carl Joseph has number 30, says Boing Boom Shaq, which I did not see that, so that's good to know. Joseph's wearing 30, and Witherspoon, I had heard this earlier, Dave Shipley, thanks a lot, wearing 25 as well. So there you go. And that's interesting. Any thoughts on the team captains, Shannon?
I think that I like the team captains. I think that Hayward has that leadership. Somebody said that thought it might have been Watt, but with the situation as is, I definitely think Hayward was the right choice. And Derek Watt, he's the leader of that special teams, especially with guys like Dangerfield gone. So, yeah, I think they picked the right choices.
There you go. So, I really think that as well, too. And as far as, there are rumors in the Slack channel about TJ Watt that now we have some people saying that they don't think it's going to happen. Dave Schofield reminded us of this earlier on the in fact, I actually saw him put this out on Twitter, that there's about 5 or 6 players that took longer to sign their deal a lot closer to the season. And I remember Troy Polamalu being one of them, Cam Hayward, Joe Hayden. We've seen a lot of guys go right up to the wire. So that's something to think about as well. So I would not lose faith on that until kickoff on Sunday. And if it's not done at that point, because I remember, fellas, if we can go back to 2014, and this was the start of the regular season against Cleveland. It's when Brian Hoyer came back and almost won that game. They were beaten up on Cleveland. They announced right before the game that Cortez Allen and Marcus Gobert signed extensions. Now, that was not a pressing of a situation, but they do. We've seen them do that on Saturday night before the start of the regular season and Sunday morning as well. So to wrap up the TJ talk, I'll go with TJ first. Tony Julius.
Yeah, I just think it's a matter of guaranteed money. It's just something that somebody's going to have to give in. Either Watt's going to have to concede something, or they're going to have to go out of their comfort zone and sign him and agree to more guaranteed money than they're used to. I think that's what it has to be what the holdup is. Obviously, they know what it's going to take as far as like a structured contract. If you're talking about average salary per year to keep him here, it's just a matter of how far into the contract do they want to go with the guaranteed money. I think that has to be the only thing that's holding it up. They're obviously not going to lowball him with like a 5-year, $40 million deal. So that can't be what it is. It has to be, they're probably in agreement in principle with the length and the average salary. It's just how much is guaranteed.
Shannon White, is this going to be a distraction if this goes into the regular season without a deal for TJ Watt?
I think a lot of people will try to make it one, from the local media to the national media, but TJ will give the same effort regardless. He'll be the outstanding player he always is. I have no concerns about that. I agree that I think it's the guaranteed money, which would definitely be going out of the Steelers' comfort zone. They're going to have to start giving more guaranteed money on these contracts because it's just the way it is now. But you have to be very cautious with that, because if you make the wrong decision and you have a big injury, it can set you back for at least a half of a decade. So I don't think it'll be a big factor with Watt. My main concern is he hasn't played any this preseason. He hasn't been hitting. And then we're going to expect him to come out game one against one of the best teams in the AFC and, be his normal self. He's going to have to be on a snap count at least. And I worry about injury. So that's my main concern.
All right. We talked about last week. We talked about our confidence ratings going into the regular season last week. We talked about some of these games going into before training camp. So we're going to talk about the entire 17-game schedule here as well. But I want to go back to the confidence rating with the TJ Watt situation, with the trades. This team, once again, is always tinkering. They are not standing pat. They're always looking to do something. So if you don't think that they're not, I've seen a lot of people, be depressed that the team wasn't addressing the secondary situation. Obviously, they are trying to address that with bringing in a guy like Carl Joseph, bringing in Ahkello Witherspoon in the last couple of days. So this is not your Steelers of just 10 years ago. Where we've seen them say, hey, we're okay going into the season. This is our crew. This is what we're going with. So I want to talk about confidence rating first after everything that's gone on in the last week since our last show, and then we're going to go into the schedule. Shannon, we'll start with you.
Confidence as far as the roster is presently set.
Confidence for the season.
The season. I would have to say I'm about 75% confident, because to me, the big question is still the offensive line. I think the defense is going to be every bit as good as last year. I think the special teams is going to be better because they've got so many excellent athletes on the kick coverage teams. And then you got Presley Harvin, but the offense is going to go as far as that offensive line can take them. And so I just want to see steady improvement. They don't have to be dominant. They don't have to be the best line. If they can be average by middle of the season, this offense could be special. So, I guess I'm 75% confident.
Tony, your thoughts?
Yeah, my confidence level hasn't really changed because what's going on right now with the line and the secondary, I expected that. I think we all did. We knew it was going to be a question mark with the line because they're adding all these new players. It's a completely different line from last year. You have a new coach. So they weren't going to have that solved by week one. It was going to be an ongoing process that was going to continue into the season. And hopefully at some point, sooner rather than later, they figure the right combination out, and these guys build some chemistry and cohesion. And as Dave said, there's the skills position players. This offense can really be dangerous if that line is even average. So, and it's the secondary, again, they made a big decision when they moved on from, Mike Hilton was inevitable when they moved on from Steven Nelson. It was gonna take some work to rebuild that secondary. So, I'm feeling pretty good. I've been saying all along, I think this is a roster that it could be a few negative or positive plays away from being anywhere from 7-10 to 7-10, 10-7, 11-6. I think that they're that kind of team. So my confidence is about the same. I'm feeling pretty good about a lot of areas. Like I'm really excited about Najee Harris and the defense and Alex Highsmith. So I'm feeling pretty good.
All right. So what we're going to do here is this is not the preview show. So I am not going to give a prediction whatsoever because I do that on Thursdays. And I also do that on Saturday mornings with Kevin Smith as we bring back the Here We Go, the Steelers pregame show as well. So I'm going to save my prediction. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go through each and every game and we're going to make predictions. Doesn't have to be a point total, but we're going to go game by game. And we're going to do a round. We're going to go around the horn with each game, with one of us saying our thoughts on it, and the other ones agreeing to disagree. So, with that being said, for the first game, Shannon, I will give you an opportunity to actually make a prediction on this game if you wish, since you will not have an opportunity for a forum until next week's Hangover. Tony, it is your decision unless you want to save that for your show, which is coming up when we have a 6-pack with Tony on Friday night. So let's get started. Shannon, first week of the season at Buffalo, and keep your total of wins and losses so we know at the end. So here we go. Shannon White.
That's going to be a tough one on the road. The Bills are more established. They didn't have as much turnover. That's just such a huge game on their schedule. They want to set the tone as that they're a contender, and last year wasn't a fluke. I think it's going to be a close game. But I do think that the Bills will end up winning maybe like 35-27, somewhere in there.
All right. Tony Defeo. Yes or no?
I see the Bills winning this game. I'm going to say more like 20-17. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle than people think. And because I think these teams, you saw the last 2 years, they kind of match up well with each other as far as the competition. And the Steelers kind of let both games get away the last 2 years. So I expect it to be a similar game this time around. So I'm looking like 20-17 Buffalo.
All right. And I am going to go ahead and say that I actually think that the tide is really turning on this game where I've picked Buffalo since the schedule has come out. I'm actually picking Pittsburgh in this game, but I'm not going to give a score right now. That might change by Thursday. And I do want to break in. If you hear all those beeps in the background, that's because internally we have the BTSC Slack channel where we have all our information, and our breaking news Slack is going off like crazy. And it's because of Brooke Pryor's report that TJ Watt's practice participation today was no different than training camp. As Steelers spokesman Bert Lawton confirms, Watt was at every training camp practice, but worked only in individuals and was off to the side doing his own work during team periods today. And she also said in a separate tweet, expect Coach Mike Tomlin to address TJ Watt's status when he talks with the media tomorrow at noon. So that means you need to check out the Mike Tomlin press conference podcast recap that Jeff Hartman does, and he will have one tomorrow as soon as that podcast is over. That's something you definitely want to check out on BTSC Radio, wherever you download your favorite podcast. So just to keep everybody up to date on that. So let's go to week number 2, because we're going to have lots of talk all week long on BTSC about Buffalo. We're going to go to every single game because this is taking the temperature and looking into the crystal ball of the season. So, Tony, it's your turn. Your thoughts on the Las Vegas Raiders coming into Heinz Field week 2.
Well, they're coming from the West Coast. You got a West Coast team coming here for, a 1:00 game. Traditionally, that benefits the East Coast team, and I look for, regardless of what happens in Buffalo, I look for the Steelers to really take care of business in this game, because they're gonna want to establish themselves as the playoff contender they were last year, and what better way to do that than against what I think is an inferior opponent, and beat them up pretty good in front of the home fans. It's going to be the first home full stadium that they've had, hopefully, since 2019. So I think they're really going to put one on the Raiders.
Shannon White.
I agree. I think that the Steelers are the better team. Derek Carr does not like pressure, and that's what the Steelers are the best at doing. Because I think they could stop the Jacobs in the running game for the Raiders and make Carr beat him, and I don't think he can. So I think the Steelers will win this one.
I say win as well. Cincinnati Bengals in week 3, and they come into Heinz Field as well, and that is a 1:00 game on CBS. Shannon White.
The Bengals are going to be better this year with Burrow if he could come back healthy, but they're still at the bottom of the division, in my opinion, and especially playing in Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers will win that one pretty handily.
Tony Defeo, what are your thoughts on Cincinnati and Pittsburgh in week 3?
This is why I'm feeling pretty good about the early part of the season, where I think they can get off to a decent start, regardless of what happens in Buffalo, because I think this is another team that they should be better than on paper and in person on the field. And the Bengals, I mean, they still have issues with their offensive line, even though they're trying to rebuild it. And the Steelers really, with their front seven, hopefully Watt and Tua won't be back by then, but hopefully they can take advantage and make the day a living heck for the young Burrow. So I look for them to win that game fairly easily and get off to at least a 2-1 start.
I am very worried about Cincinnati this season, but I don't think it's going to occur in the early season unless all of this stuff gets in the Steelers' head. I think this is a very close game with the Pittsburgh Steelers winning by a field goal. So I will go ahead and say win as well. The very next game before we take a break is going to be the Green Bay Packers hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that will be a 4:25 game on CBS. That's going to be a great one. That's one, man, I would love to go to. So if anybody wants to pick me up and take me to Wisconsin, I would be glad to go to that game with you. I would love to see Lambeau Field, because I can't. We won't be able to see that game in Lambeau for another 8 years. So with that being said, I'm going to take this game here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a great football game, but Aaron Rodgers is focused. He's back. He's where he needs to be. The Steelers are not going to win 17 games this season. They're not going to do all of that. This team, if you listen to Jeff Hartman's show this morning, Let's Ride, he said that there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road for this team. Now, look, that does not mean that this is not a Super Bowl team. That doesn't mean that this is not a playoff team, but it is just not going to be easy. So with that being said, I really think at home, Lambeau Field, where the Steelers have had some success in the past, but they're not going to have it this year, they are going to go home with a loss in that game. Tony?
Yeah, every time these two teams get together, it's a real barn burner. You're going back up to 2009, really. So I expect it to be that kind of game, but it's awfully hard to beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He was the MVP last year, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
So yeah, so he's really playing at a high level still, and I look for them to. It's going to be a close game, but I think the Packers are going to win this game in the end.
Shannon White.
I could see this one going either way, because I think both future Hall of Fame quarterbacks are going to be really amped up for this one. Green Bay does have home field advantage. I don't know. I see Harris having a big game for some reason. I think by that point he's going to really be hitting his stride. And so I think the Steelers could come out of there, sneak out a win. If they lose, it won't shock me, but I think they might win that one.
There you go. All right. So we've got 4 games. We've got 13 to go. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and I'm going to address this real quick before we take a break. This is a really good question. Now, Bad, even with 17th game, is it still definitely 8 years, says Buck Dancer. That's very true. Now, the way the schedule is, it will be 8 years unless something happens that it lines up with the Steelers and the Green Bay Packers being the same position in each division when they go ahead and match them up with each other. We don't know how long that 17 game slate is, whether that's going to keep. This is something what they're saying right now, that it could be an experiment. So this is not on the docket forever. So this might be a test to see how it goes. I kind of think it stays. But with that being said, there's a possibility if the planets align and they're in the same position, just like the Steelers and Seahawks won their division last year, and it just happened to be the same year. Now, the only problem with that is say Pittsburgh and Green Bay, they are in different spots next year, and that wouldn't matter because next year they would go ahead and play in Green Bay because it would be the NFC's turn. But the next year, say in 2023, the Steelers and the Green Bay Packers, say they both finish second in their division. That game would be played in Pittsburgh again because it would be the NFC's year. Something I don't know if you've noticed, the entire AFC has the home field advantage in that extra game this year. I think a lot of you have. But what you didn't notice is how many games did the Pittsburgh Steelers have at home in the preseason? And how many games did the Ravens and everybody else in the AFC have? It seemed like they gave the advantage with 3 preseason games. The NFC seemed to have had the advantage mostly in those preseason games. So that's one of the things they're giving back to the NFC to get that revenue, that home revenue more in that preseason game. Now, does that fix everything? No. But they're going to get more revenue next year when the entire NFC gets the entire game, and I'm sure there's some kind of sharing in there as well. So I just wanted to bring that up. Buck Dancer, that is a great question. Thanks for bringing that up. That does throw a wrench, and you know how I love formulas, and every time you throw a wrench into the formula, it can screw some things up, but for the most part, the formula kind of sticks. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. If you are on the audio side, just switch on over to number 2. If you're here, we're just going to stretch for a second. I'm going to put myself on mute for a quick second, so my chair doesn't make any noise like it always does. We'll be back right here on the Steelers Hangover from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Welcome back, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Steelers Nation. Also, my good friends in the live chat. And if we have any hashtag bad company or hashtag ride or die crew or hashtag Tony, we got to get your crew a hashtag. So there we go. So any thoughts on that?
6-pack crew. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about it.
All right.
I definitely want a crew though. I want a crew.
Okay. Well, we already have crew, so it's gonna be like Tone Squad or
there you go.
Def Squad, or we'll worry about that. And
the Def Squad. The Def Squad. There you go. Hashtag Def Squad. Instead of Def Squad, Def Squad.
We'll work on Shannon's as well, but I want to bring up this comment by Mark King, and this is something near and dear to my heart. Mark King lost my kitty today. Says he was a Steeler fan, and every game he would lay in his basket with a 6-time Super Bowl champ. Terrible towel. R.I.P. Mr. Biggs. Now that to me brings back memories, and not very special memories, of me losing my dachshunds. I still have dachshunds, but I lost Polly, which was short for Palomalu. And I lost her right before the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots back in 2007. It was 2017, but it was the 2016 season. And I actually put a picture of her next to me and watched the game. So she sat on my lap all the time. And anytime you yelled touchdown Steelers, her and my other dachshund, Heinz, I had Heinz, I had Polly, Heinz and Palomalu. Heinz was the boy, Polly was the girl. And they would come running because they knew touchdown Steelers meant that they were getting fed. And that all happened, because they would get a treat every time the Steelers scored. And I started that in 2006. In week 6 or 7, it was the game where Troy Polamalu got his hair pulled. He got an interception and his hair pulled. And they were playing the Chiefs, and they scored their first touchdown. And I yelled, touchdown Steelers, and I gave them a treat. So they would come running. And then next time they heard touchdown Steelers, I had a treat out. They came, and was pure Pavlovian. And what happened was the Steelers scored 45 points that day. So there was a lot of touchdown Steelers. So the next time I'm yelling, I don't even have a treat. I yell, touchdown Steelers on the third touchdown. Here they come running. They were way back in the bedroom on the bed. They came running and they were looking. So it just became a thing. And we did that for 10 or 11 years. But she always sat on my lap, and then when I'd move, she would get my plate, go after my plate. It was so. Mark, I feel you. I understand so much. Pets are family too. So rest in peace to Mr. Biggs. God bless your family, because I don't know what I would do without my pets and how much I absolutely love them. So So thank you for sharing that with us, and they will always live in your heart. I will tell you that. So there you go. And lots of outpouring here from Mr. Biggs on the live chat. I really appreciate it. Brian Brown says the Chiefs, it took the refs 10 minutes to figure out if pulling hair was a penalty or not. So I do remember that game, but I was like going looking for dog treats. We did change it to carrots though, because my wife was like, "You're making Polly way too fat, and her back can't handle it." So Mrs. Bad. They were probably really super critical more than anybody of the offensive coordinator. Oh yeah. One more thing. So I talk about hosting Steeler games at Steeler Central all the time, and so what happened was, it was the last game of the season, or second last game of the season, in one of the bad years where they were 8-8, and it's really strange to say that 8-8 was a bad year. And we had wings at Steeler Central, and they played the Ravens, and they beat the Ravens, and we were all excited and went upstairs. And next thing you know, I didn't put my wing plate away. And
oh no!
I hear Polly crying and barking, and then she comes running up the steps to me and starts barking at me. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And I run downstairs. She led me downstairs, and there's Heinz with a chicken wing bone stuck in his mouth and throat, and he's choking. And I was able to get it out. Polly pulled a lassie and saved Heinz's life. So it was one of those amazing things that she was such a special dog. So was Heinz. Now I still have dachshunds. I have 4 dogs running around this house. They make us crazy, but I'd be lost without them, making me crazy, because the love that they give is let's just put it this way: the love that they give is worth me being on my bad knees, scrubbing pee off the floor with our new one, Dobby, who likes to pee everywhere. So now we're naming them after Harry Potter characters. So I've got Luna, Hermione, and I have Harvey too, but he's not a Harry Potter character. He was a rescue, and now Dobby. So there we go. I did get off subject. I know not everybody loves it when I get off subject, as as we see in the comment sections on YouTube sometimes. But hey, that's the heart of the show. We're going to go back to Steelers, but we're not going to change exactly what we do, because memories and fun is a lot of the part of what we do here on the show. So with that being said, we are going to go back to the schedule, and week 5, I still have this part of the schedule remembered. I told the guys I would have to bring it up, but I don't have to look for this one, because I know that if I'm not mistaken, week 5 is the Denver Broncos at home. So I'm at 3-1. I think you guys are at 3-1. Wait, I'm not sure what you did with the refresh me. What did you do with the Packers? Both of you guys.
The L. So
Okay.
2-2 for me.
Okay, Tony's at 2-2.
I thought they could win, so I'm going to say 3-1 because I think they lose to Buffalo.
Okay, so here we go. Let's continue with this, and I'm not sure who should go first, so I'm just going to say Shannon White. Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts there?
It looks like it's going to be Bridgewater at quarterback, and they have a talented squad. But again, with the game being in Pittsburgh, I think the Steelers are more talented, and they'll be able to get to Bridgewater, and so I think the Steelers win it.
Tony, Denver Broncos coming to town. It could be Bridgewater if things don't. You've got Bridgewater and you've got Locke. I mean, makes me think of there's a lot of aquatic references there. So will the Steelers, I'm going to try this. Will the Steelers be damned in this game? Get it? Okay.
I'm actually, this is gonna be one of those quote unquote Tomlin losses. One's gonna happen sooner or later, right? So it's got to happen at some point. So week 5 at home to the Broncos, a team you're probably supposed to beat, either Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. You figure you should be able to have your way with them. I'm going to predict a close loss because they've had their hands full with this team the last couple of times they played them. So I'm going to say I'm going to say a loss here, a surprise loss.
Tony wearing the pessimistic hat, but that happens. Those surprise losses do happen. I think the Broncos are a very talented team. I am going to go ahead and say that this is going to be a win, but I'm stepping on Shannon's toes here. So Shannon, go ahead.
No, I thought the Steelers are going to beat the Broncos.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, did you already said that?
Yeah.
Okay. I've had a long week, so I do apologize. I am way off here. So here we go. Let's go ahead and go to another home game, this time in prime time. It is going to be a late night game. And gosh, I hate those late night games, especially when you're doing the show, trying to do the post game afterwards. But the only thing that makes you feel good is when they win those late night games. Tony, am I going to be happy or am I going to be miserable staying up late in week 6?
Who are they playing in that game?
Oh, maybe I should tell you that. The Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. I think this is going to be one of those backs up against the wall games. If the Broncos game is a Tomlin loss, this is your typical Tomlin win, prime time at home against a really good opponent. They're going to win, and they're going to win impressively.
Shannon White, is that an impressive win, or are you thinking differently?
I don't think the Seahawks is going to be quite as good this year as they have been. I think that where I think they're going to beat the Broncos, they got a big showdown the next week with the Browns. So I'm afraid that this is going to be one of them tough games. Even though they're usually really good in prime time, they're not as good on Sunday night as they are, say, Monday night. So I actually think that one they might lose.
I'm actually going to say that they're going to lose that game too, and I hate to say that at home, but I've got to be realistic that I do agree with Jeff Hartman that there are going to be bumps on the road, and I think this is going to be one of those bumps. I do like Tony's rationale, though, saying that when you come off of he has them losing to the Denver Broncos, and he can see this being a signature win against a good team. So I like that. Another signature win against a great team would have to be on Halloween 2 weeks later in Cleveland. My gosh, the Cleveland Browns are obsessed with this team. They are obsessed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm worried about this game because I think they're becoming dangerous. They're really eating up what they're shoveling. Let's just put it that way. So with that being said, who goes first here? Shannon, I believe you go first on this one.
Yes. I think that one is going to be, I think they'll split with the Browns, and I think they'll lose the game in Cleveland.
All righty. Just think that at home for Cleveland, too fired up. And
I was watching their some of their training camp just to check out and see what was going on. And it's got a different feel in Cleveland. Not just, the fans are always rabid, even when they suck. And we're 0-16, the fans were, supporting them. But the way they run the practice, it was crisper. It seemed like a far more professional, the way they were handling the situation, the timing from one drill to the next. And if you'd watched it in some of their stuff in the past, it didn't look like that. So I think they've taken a real step forward, and they're going to be an issue. So I think they win that game in Cleveland.
You know what, Shannon? I think that they finally have a head coach, and it's not the same old Browns because of Kevin Stefanski. And I think that's the biggest reason here that I think this is going to be a loss as well. But I don't want to step on Tony. So, Tony, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
This might be the last time Big Ben plays in Cleveland. I'm not going to get really analytical on this one. I'm just going to say Big Ben in Cleveland. He has more wins than any quarterback. I think maybe Mayfield finally beat him. I don't know, but I think Big Ben's gonna beat the Browns in Cleveland, and they're gonna take a step back and go, can we really beat? I mean, they beat him in the playoffs last year, but have we really turned the corner? It's gonna be one of those games for the Browns where they're gonna be wondering if they really turned the corner. 4-3.
Wow, really nice. Okay, so I've predicted 2 losses in a row. Then they go home on Monday Night Football 8 days later, if that stays, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that they are now allowing some flexibility with the schedule and moving Monday night games. I don't think they would move this one this early in November with flex scheduling, so this should be safe. But the Chicago Bears, it could be the rookie Nathan Fields coming to town. I think that the Steelers come back in a big way here. So let's go with Tony on this one.
Monday Night Football, as Shannon said, they're usually really good on Monday Night Football. And at home, I look for them to win this game. I like Fields, but I don't see them losing this game.
I tell you what, I like Mrs. Fields a whole lot better, and I'm just talking about the cookie because I'm a 1995 Mrs. Fields cookie eating champion when I was only about 140 pounds. Shannon White, your thoughts on my cookie eating prowess or this game?
Well, that's impressive. That is impressive. Hopefully it was chocolate chip, but
it was.
Yes. It's Justin Fields, by the way.
What did I call him?
Nathan
Fields. Who's Nathan? Nathan Fields is somebody.
Well, I thought you said Nathan, but it's Justin Fields. But he.
I bet you I did, but Nathan Fields is somebody.
Yeah.
I was setting up my cookie joke.
The Steelers have trouble in Chicago, but this game's in Pittsburgh. And I think that the Steelers are by far the better team. And they're going to take care of business on Monday night.
All right. Who is Nathan Fields now? That's going to bother me. I've got to look that up. All right. So with that being said, Nathan Fields was in the he's the son of Janice Dickinson, the famed model. And he was in a few movies. Shall We Dance and Greenberg. Okay. I for some reason I had the name Nathan Fields on my mind. So I do apologize for that. It is Justin Fields for now. But now the live chat is going to be calling him Nathan like crazy because I messed this up. And he'll make it to the touchdown zone a whole heck of a lot this year. So there you go. Man, I do that. Yeah, I am hallucinating. Let's just put it this way. I wouldn't be allowed in practice for the next 10 days. Let's just say, put it that way. So we have the Detroit Lions at home the next week. I'm not afraid of these guys whatsoever. I'm not going to even analyze this game. I'm saying win. So, Shannon, let's go to you.
Yes, a win there. I think the Lions might be the worst team in the NFL this year. I say the win easily, yes.
Yeah, there's no way this is going to be a Tomlin loss. Yeah, this would have to be a fictional game for it to be a loss. 6-3.
All right. Wow. He knows what he's thinking there. So let's go ahead to the very next game on the schedule. And it is a very interesting one against a team that I really think is going to turn the corner and actually be good. They're still not going to overtake the Kansas City Chiefs, but that is the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Steelers will travel to SoFi Stadium there. They usually represent, I know my best friend and his family who's out in LA is definitely going to that game. I would love to be going to that game on my nephew's birthday, November 21st, because he's a huge Steeler fan. I'd love to take him out there, but it's not going to happen this year. Maybe we'll watch it together. But I'm going to say the Chargers, that's going to be a toughie. Tony, thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Steelers are going to have a lot of fans there. They seem to, as you said, travel. But beating them out there, Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. They seem to be doing a lot of good things there with their roster. I'm going to say a loss.
All right. Shannon White.
Actually think that's kind of a away home game due to how many Steeler fans are going to be there. And even though the Chargers are really improving, I think the Steelers definitely have a superior defense. So I'm going to say the Steelers win that one.
I am going to go ahead and say that the Steelers actually win that game as well. I think it's going to be awfully tough, but they're going to stay at 7-3 and go the next week. And the next week is the Escalooser game against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, where they lost to a very bad Cincinnati team on Monday Night Football last year. So on this November 28th game after Thanksgiving, will they be on a tryptophan hangover? Will we be on a tryptophan hangover watching this game? I'm going to say yes. I say the Steelers lose this game to drop to 7-4 against a revitalized Cincinnati Bengals. Fellas, let's start with you, and you is Shannon White.
I think the Steelers sweep the Bengals this year, so I think that they win this game.
All righty. My man, Tone Deaf.
Yeah, coming off a loss, they'll be 6-4 against the Chargers. They're going to need this game to stay in the hunt. So, yeah, I don't see them losing this game. 7-4.
All right. So, man, you guys are motoring through. Let's go ahead and take a look at the very next game. It is going to be, I might be on a kind of a hangover as well, because that is going to be 2 days after my 50th birthday, and they're going to be taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Pittsburgh. Why do I have a feeling that I might just end up there? So I just don't know, but that's a game that I'm really excited for. The Steelers and the Ravens always frighten me, but I think Mike Tomlin will be talking about bad in the locker room, and Bryan Anthony Davis, and I think they're going to win one for me in my 50th. So with that being said, I'm going to say the Steelers beat the Ravens in it's not a primetime game, but it's going to be a nationally televised game, and that should be a great one at Heinz Field. Tony Defeo.
I look for this to be a low scoring kind of game. I think they're going to make Lamar Jackson look bad like they've done so far in his career. But I look for the Ravens to do what they sometimes do, and that's win in Heinz Field. I'm looking for another field goal game, and I guess I would make them in my mind 7-5.
All right, so you have them at 7-5. I guess I'm still at 8-4. What are you going with, my man Shannon White?
That's one of them games that could go either way. I just believe that being the home field advantage, and with the schedule coming up after that, I think the Steelers have the defense to slow down that running game. And I still don't believe that Jackson's going to improve that much as a passer. So I'm going to take the Steelers winning at home.
All righty. There you go. So the next game is not much time to prepare. Lots of purple in a couple days stretch. So on December 5th, they play the Ravens. On December 9th, they travel to Minnesota on a short week to take on the Vikings. Fellas, your thoughts on this?
Is that
let's start with Tony.
That's a Thursday night game, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's gonna be awfully tough. That's gonna be awfully tough. But I get the feeling the Vikings. And they had a rough year last year, right? So they were a playoff team the year before. I'm going to give the Steelers a win in this one, kind of a mini upset.
I'm actually going to go in the other direction, and I'm going to say that the Minnesota Vikings are the team that on a short week they're going to be tough to beat. They're a lot like the Steelers. I kind of feel that these are two teams that are kind of equal in what they've been doing in the last couple of years. They have the opportunity to win every single week, and then they have the opportunity to lay an egg, and we can see that. I could see the Vikings doing it at home, and it looks like we lost Shannon there. I would not be surprised if he said that the Vikings would win, but we'll ask him. That the Steelers would win, but we'll ask him when he comes back, and there he is. Oh, and there he is. So Shannon,
lost you.
Yeah, I know. I thought you went to check on the ribs. So
I thought I was plugged in, and it wasn't plugged in, so I lost you.
So Vikings and Steelers on Thursday Night Football right after they play the Ravens. Win or loss for the Steelers?
Oh, I say definitely a win. I think they can slow down Cook, and I think they'll kill Cousins. He's not going to like their pressure, so definitely a Steelers win.
All righty. So I actually went in the opposite directions. I actually called it a loss. So they've got 10 days to prepare for the Tennessee Titans coming into Pittsburgh. I don't know whether they're going to play this game because the Titans might might test positive for the 17th time in the season, and that's very possible. It seems like they've got they need a exterminator there or whatever, or they need a better cleaning press. I don't know what's going on there, but anyways, with that being said, Titans coming to town, man. Steelers stopped the run well, but I have a feeling that Derrick Henry could run wild on this team, and Tannehill has some guys to throw to now too. So let's go ahead and start with Shannon White.
I think that the Steelers will have advantage being at home. They beat Tennessee last year on the road, and I think that they'll have an advantage. Hopefully they'll still be at full strength where they have Bush this year and Sherbert inside, and where they could give try to slow that running game. So I actually think that the Steelers can win that game.
All righty. Tony Defeo.
I think it's going to be one of the harder hitting games of the year they're both physical teams. I look for the Steelers to win this game, like maybe 24-17, something like that.
All righty. And I'm going to say that the Steelers win as well to go to 9-5 on the season. Let's wrap up the season with the next 3 games, and they are all going to be toughies. Let's go first with the Kansas City Chiefs the day after Christmas. It's Boxing Day, nationally televised game, or it might be this might be a game that gets moved. Who knows? But are the Steelers going to get knocked out on Boxing Day? I'm going to say yes. They'll lose this game and go to 9-6. Tony Defeo.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game for them to win. I don't think they match up well with Mahomes. At least they didn't a few years ago when they played him. So I'm going to say it's going to be a difficult loss. Maybe an ugly loss for them.
Shannon White.
I think they may end up meeting in the playoffs, but I think the Chiefs will handle business in Kansas City. They've just got so many weapons, and the Steelers are going to have an excellent defense. I think that the Kansas City will be able to put enough points on the board to win that. So, I think they take a loss in Kansas City.
All right. And once again, I already said that they would take a loss as well. So we move on to 2022 on January 3rd for Week 16. Boy, how crazy does that sound? Week 16, January 3rd. But so here we go. Here we go. The Cleveland Browns have to come into town. This could be, I don't know what their record's going to be. This could be for the division crown. They might be resting guys. Who knows? Or they might be locked in at the same record. I am going to say this. The Pittsburgh Steelers owe the Browns at Heinz Field. I had them losing in Cleveland. I'm saying that they're going to punch them out this week on Week 16. I'm putting the win. The Steelers over the Browns. Big brother steps up again. Shannon White. Shannon?
No, I didn't hear you. You kind of froze there for a second.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. I think the Steelers, that's the game I had marked on the schedule, that's the payback. I actually said that the Browns would win at home, but when they come to Pittsburgh, I think the Steelers are going to put a whooping on them. So, I expect the Steelers to win that game and to expose Baker Mayfield by slowing down that running game and then making Mayfield beat him, and I don't think he can.
Can you come and talk to me when you...
Sorry, I'm having mic problems here. Tony, go ahead.
It's going to be a repeat of last October. Hopefully, without a torn ACL to one of the Steeler players. I think it's going to be a 4-touchdown kind of win for them. I think they're going to make a statement heading into the final week, 10-6.
All right. So let's go ahead and look at the last game of the season. It will be against the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, I have the Steelers at 10-6 as well. I'm actually going to say that this is going to be a game that might not even matter. I just have this weird feeling about this game here. I'm going to go ahead and say that on this time in Baltimore that I think it's more of a split. So I'm going to go ahead and say they lose this game, finish the season 10-7, but finish in the playoffs. Tony.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is going to be one of those games where the winner of this game wins the division. The loser still makes the playoffs, but there's no shot at a bye for either team. But I'm gonna say the Steelers eke one out and win the division, the AFC North, for the second year in a row.
All right, and what's your final? What does that put you at? 11-6?
11-6.
All right, Shannon White.
Well, I'm 11-5 going into this game. I think the Steelers have already won the division, and they won't play a lot of starters. And I think beating Cleveland the week prior is going to clinch the division. And then against the Ravens, I think that they'll be setting a lot of starters. So I expect them to lose that last game and end up the final record of 11-6.
All righty. I have them at 10-7, but that does not mean that this team is not going to go far in the playoffs. I still feel very special about this team. I think the 17-game season makes things a whole lot different, where 10-7 is a lot like 10-6 was a year before, or any other year. So I think that's a pretty good year. Where you don't want to be in is 9-8. You know, you don't want to be in that 9-8 range. So with all of that being said, I'm still fine with 10-7. I am not pessimistic. I just sometimes you got to be a realist with how the Steelers play and everything. And they have a tough division. They have a tough schedule. You know, they have won Super Bowls without winning the division. They've gone far in the playoffs without winning the division. So I can see that being a very successful season as well. So we're going to get ready to wrap everything up here, but I'm just going to ask you guys real quick. We're going to go rapid fire through this without even explanation. I'm going to say team MVP, and I'm going to say rookie of the year, Joe Green Performance Award winner. So Shannon White, first of all, who is your MVP for the Steelers this year?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Tony Defeo.
Minka.
Wow. Bryan Anthony Davis. I am going to go with Najee Harris. Shannon White, your rookie of the year.
Najee Harris.
Tony.
Number 22.
All right. I have to say Najee Harris if I'm saying that he's the MVP as well. So I'm going to say that he's going to sweep it. I do like everybody mentioning Big Ben as MVP. That's actually a direction that I was going to go with as well, but I'm thinking more about Najee. I mean, realistically, I would probably put more money though on Big Ben to win the MVP this year for the Steelers. I actually think he will, but I'm still going Najee. So with that being said, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for coming on early with us. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. I'm going to go back into quarantine, and I'll see the light of day maybe in another 8 or 9 days. So hopefully in time for the regular season. I think I might be out of a jail by then. So with all of that, we need you to do 3 things. 1 is stay safe. 2, be true to yourself. And number 3, always be behind the steel curtain. And to quote the late, great Rowdy Roddy Piper, along with his great friend, the very much alive Ric Flair, I'm going to say this. Just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Did he just freeze on the woo?
He did.
You didn't get the woo?
You got it. It was
Hey, we're still live. We're still live. You froze on the woo. But, all right. And also, we would be remiss. We did have a lot of fun. We would be remiss without saying rest in peace, Tunch. So for Tony, Shannon, I'm Brian. We'll talk to you later. Love y'all.